Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for participating in this hearing today. Dr. Tabak, I understand that the historical collection that contained the smallpox vials where there was a problem that have been previously discussed is not the NIH. In fact, in 2002 or 2003, NIH registered a historical collection that included plague and Burkholderia samples using the information listed on labels for sealed envelopes. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did anyone at NIH open the envelopes at the time to check not only the accuracy of the samples, but also to ensure that the samples were intact?
To my knowledge, they did not.
And I also understand that in 2007, the NIH office responsible for overseeing compliance with select agent regulations re-registered these select agents again without opening the sealed envelopes. Isn't that correct?
It is. The reason they did not open them at the time is that they were not registered to work with that particular agent in the laboratory where they were brought.
So the individuals who were looking at it weren't registered to deal with that particular, with the plague or Burkholderia.
The laboratory was not registered, and so they needed to file an amendment to their so they needed to file an amendment so that they could, in fact, work with those agents.
Okay, so they did that, and then from my understanding, in 2008, they finally opened the envelopes up, and the materials contained were not the same as what had been registered back in 2002, 2003 with the Select Agent Program twice earlier. They weren't the same as had been previously registered, and that one of the envelopes contained more vials of Burkholderia than was listed. Isn't that accurate?
That is correct. It has been described to me as a clerical error, that indeed they did know that there were 39 vials, but unfortunately it was transcribed inaccurately. And so that's my understanding of it.
So there were 39, but I mean, there were 39 vials, but they had it written down as 32?
I may be misspeaking, but yes, there was a difference of, I believe, 7 vials.
Now, I was not, obviously I'm familiar with the plague. I was not familiar with Burkholderia, and so I looked it up online. So my sources are internet sources. They may or may not be accurate, so you get me straight if I've got it wrong. But it looks like it affects mostly horses, but there are a couple of species or subspecies of the bacteria that affect human beings. Do you know whether the samples that were discovered in 2008 were the type of species of Burkholderia that affect horses, or were they the type that affect humans?
I do not know the answer to that.
And could you please find that out for us, because in my research it indicated that at least 2 of the species not only affect humans but are considered possible agents for biological warfare.
Indeed, and this is why they were treated as select agents and contained, but I will find out the answer for the record, sir.
If you could let me know, I would greatly appreciate that. Dr. Pillay, did I say it right? All right. And you're now with the Office of Laboratory Science and Safety at the FDA, and it's a fairly new office. What is the budget for your office, and how many staff do you have?
So, as you mentioned, it's fairly a new office that we are trying to stand up at the current time. We have actually worked out the strategic visions and plan and mission for the office, and have actually pulled together budget, and we have put in the budget request to our senior leadership, the Office of Operations, as well as to the Office of the Commissioner. And both of those offices are working diligently to ensure that we get the necessary budget and support needed to stand up the office. The request that we have proposed was $2.8 million to basically staff with 14 members to ensure that we can address all the safety and security related issues at FDA.
All right, and can you get us that once it's been approved by the other folks? Can you get us a copy of that budget?
Absolutely.
I would appreciate that. And who is it that you report to?
At the current time, I report to the Office of the Chief Scientist and to the Commissioner through the Office of the Chief Scientist. The external laboratory safety working group's recommendation was for this position to be a direct report to the Commissioner. As you are fully aware that we have a new Commissioner on deck at the current time, Dr. Robert Califf. Dr. Califf is taking a look at all of the organizational structures at the current time, and you'll make a final call and decision as to what the reporting structure should be.
All right. I do appreciate that. I see my time is up, and I yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now recognize Ms. Brooks.